do that? How did you do that?
Welcome back everyone to another ESO build video. Today I'm going to be giving you the update to the Vampire, the PvP Sorcerer for Summerset. This has been used for quite some time. It's a little bit outside the box as far as most Sorcerers are concerned, but this is based on the Vampire itself. Instead of just having the sneak ability and the little recovery bonuses and maybe misform occasionally, this is actually centered around using the Vampire abilities as much as possible alongside some other kind of defensive skills. Now, first of all, we're going to go into the stats. We'll just put our food on, we'll take a potion, make sure everything is where it should be. Now, this is sitting on 39k Magicka and 26k health with 10k stamina. That does actually go a little bit higher, especially if you've got certain Cyrodiil buffs, if you have Emperor and that kind of stuff. Not you being the Emperor, but if your team has, for example. This can go up to about 29k health, which is really tanky. Your resists, I'll actually put the buff on for that. Your resists are sitting on 20k across the board, 20.1 and 20.7 for both spell and physical. Our crit resistance is 2789, so it's really, really high. Our spell damage is 2.4, that actually goes up to about 3k, excluding any additional bonuses from anyone else once your weapon damage glyph procs. My buff fell off, put that back on. Now, our recovery is also very, very high. You can see it's at 1.4, almost 1.5k. We're using all of our points into max Magicka, even though we're really tanky, our health-wise. And of course, we're a stage 4 Vampire, using the Atronach Mundus Stone. We're using max health, max Magicka food. You can use a different food for this if you prefer more recovery, but you honestly don't need it. Before, we were using 2 swords on this, so recovery was key. Now we're not, because of the Summerset changes making staves 2 pieces. We can actually now alter this in our favor to make it so that we actually have really good recovery just by doing what we're doing. So I'm going to go over the skills first of all. I'm going to go over them in detail so they will make a lot of sense to you as you kind of go through them. And then obviously I'll get to the gear and then you'll see how this all slots together. So first of all, in the skills. Now the first ability is Inner Light. This is on our bar for the passives. It does give us a 5% increase to max Magicka, so our Magicka pool is larger. Also it does give us a 10% increase to our critical chance. Now, this says 2191. That is correct. That is the amount that we get, but it's actually in a percentage form in our character stats. Hopefully, one day they'll change that so we can actually see the flat percentage. But for those of you that don't know, that's 10%. Now, this is in the Major Guild skill line, which is down here. You only need Major Guild level 2, I think, to unlock this and morph it to Inner Light specifically. Also, although you don't activate this very often, if you do activate it, this will happen. That will decloak hidden enemies nearby. So very, very handy if you're trying to find someone. The second ability, of course, since it's the Vampire build, we want to make sure we're using the Vampire ability as much as possible. This is in the Vampire skill line. This is morphed into Invigorating Drain, starting off as Essence Drain. And what this does is this is a channeling ability that will actually target the enemy, single target. It will stun them. And for the 3 seconds that it's channeling, once every second, you will gain 23% of your missing health and 5 ultimate. Every second. This builds ulti like no other. It is absolutely insane. It does do magic damage to the target once every second as well, but above all, this keeps you alive and this builds your ultimate very, very fast. Now I'm going to go to the house for the rest of this because obviously some of these do need to be visually shown, so we're going to go to the skeleton from here. Now, like I said, Invigorate and Drain is a channeled ability. It's got pretty good range on it. Whoever's getting caught by it will of course be stunned. That's the maximum range roughly. So you want to get in their faces, you want a light attack and then make sure you hit them with that, so you've got the bonus to your glyph as well, which I'll go over in the gear. And while it's channeling, you'll gain 5 ulti a second and heal for 23% of your missing health. Now healing received and healing done does stack on top of that, so you can get quite a big bonus from it. But if you just check out my ulti there, this light attack will give me 3 ultimate once a second. You can see it ticking up quite nicely. Now watch what happens when I hit Invigorate and Drain at the same time. So I'll go light attack, Invigorate. Really, really fast. That's disgusting. Look how quick it goes up. It stuns, it adds pressure, it keeps me alive, and it builds ulti really, really quick. So I can spam ultimates. That's very important to the build, by the way. But above all, remember this is a Vampire ability. That is crucial. Our next ability is Hardened Ward. Now this is in the Daedric Summoning skill line. It's a 4th ability you unlock. This takes quite a while to get there, but once you are there, make sure you unlock this and morph it to Hardened Ward. This is based off of your max Magicka, so the higher your max Magicka, the bigger the damage shield. And it absorbs damage, 15k of it in fact, different in PvP of course, it's reduced. But for 6 seconds you have a damage shield, and you cannot be crit hit while you have a shield on. In fact, your health can't take any damage while you have a shield on, unless it's Oblivion damage or a bleed that's already applied. Now, obviously once it's active, it actually gets stronger. So when it's on you, it will show a higher number. So here it's 15.4, apply it again once you already have one, it's 18.9. So basically, if you have one already active, and then you hit it again, it will boost it by a further 23% or so, which is quite nice. Now, that is your kind of oh shit protection button. Don't spam it, just make sure that you don't get hit too often. It doesn't have resistance, so it will take flat damage and then disappear. Then you can get hit in the health. Elusive Mist. This is another vampire ability. Surprise, surprise. We are using these very actively. Elusive Mist, basically, while it's active, you stop your Magicka recovery. That's very important. Your Magicka recovery is stopped. But while it's active, you gain a 30% increase to speed. It lasts for 4 seconds. You take 75% less damage from every source. You cannot be knocked down. You cannot be immobilized. You cannot be stunned. And if you are already immobilized, like you're in a Root or Dragon Knight's Talons, this will break you out. All you have to do is hit Mistform, and you're out. Now, you don't have to keep it running all the time. You can literally just hit it and block straight away. As soon as you cast it, you break free. Your legs are free. Mistform, get out, and carry on. Mistform, get out, carry on. Or if you want to run away, shield, Mistform, leg it. Remember, your shield doesn't have resistance, but that 75% mitigating effect does apply to your shield if you have a shield on while Mistform is active. Also note, while Mistform is active, although your mag recovery stops, your stamina recovery still carries on. Now, I don't know if you noticed this or not, I do use tripods occasionally. I mostly use immovability pots, which we'll go over in a little while, but I do occasionally use tripods as well. The normal ones, not the crown ones, but they go in spare. And if you look at my stamina recovery, you'll see that I have 985 stamina recovery if I use those potions. I don't really struggle with stamina recovery. Watch my stamina go up straight away. Really, really quick. Do a quick sprint up the stairs, down to about 7 or 8k. Let's stop there. Watch it recover. Very, very fast. We'll just go in Mistform and just run away while it fills up. Now I've got more stam to dodge roll again. Don't dodge roll out of roots, Mistform it. Only break out of stuns. Of course, this is the second ability you unlock, by the way. You get this after Invigorate and Drain. You get it really, really early. Morph it to Elusive Mist. Now, the last ability on this bar before the ultimate is actually Mage's Wrath. This is in the Storm Calling skill line. It's the first ability you unlock. As soon as you start the game, you can pick this up. And this is our main Execute. If you have this on the target, when it's 20% health or less, it will do additional damage and explode, and it will really, really hurt them. However, if you put this on before they hit 20% and then you push them over within 4 seconds, it will pop also. So you can see this target here has a lightning effect on his buff timers or debuff. When that runs out, it disappears. If he's 20% or lower, that will hit him like that, but then do additional splash. If he's 21%, I put that on him, and I push him to 20% before it runs out, that's when it will pop anyway. So you can kind of preempt it, or you can just use it straight away. It's up to you. The ultimate is very important. We're using Eye of Lightning. Now, I need to morph it. I need to level this up a little bit because it's quite low, but it still does lots and lots of damage. Now, the Destro Staff Ultimate, you'll get a level 50. Usually, I morph this to Rage in PvE because you can place it. This one is actually, it's called Eye of the Storm to start with. It will be called Eye of Lightning if you're using a Lightning Staff, Eye of Flame if you're using a Flame Staff, and so on. It depends on what element you are actually using, but we're using Lightning, so that's why the visual effect is different. Now, this lasts actually for 7 seconds usually, but because we're using Lightning, it lasts for 9 seconds. And what this does is, instead of being placed on the ground, this actually attaches to you. So if you activate it, everywhere I go, this will come with me. It's devastating. Really, really high damage to anybody caught inside of there. This isn't the main ultimate we use, but in really, really big zergs, you might want to use this. It's very, very nice. Above all, it's actually there for passives, but we can go into that later. We're going to get into passives after I've finished all of these main skills on both bars. Streak is, of course, very, very important. This is our oh shit get away button. This is in Storm Calling as well. It's the last ability to unlock. Morph it to Streak. Now what this does is it does do shock damage to their enemies that you go through and stuns them for 1.5 seconds, which is quite nice. But above all, this is our escape button. This makes us get away really, really quick. But be very careful not to overuse it, because as you can see now, my Magicka has gone. Every time you use this, the next cast of it within 4 seconds of your previous use will be increased by 50% of the last one. So don't over spam it, and if you can help it, don't use it more than once every 4 seconds unless you really, really have to. It's very, very important that you pay attention to that increased cost the more you spam it. Healing Ward, of course, we're using a Resto Staff on our back bar. Do need some more passives in here because I don't use the resto very often. But above all, this is for healing ward. Now, you want to make sure you get this as soon as possible because what this does is it actually stacks alongside your hardened ward. So activating this will put a shield on alongside hardened ward. They both stack together. When it runs out, you'll receive a heal. Now, your health, the lower your health, in fact, determines how big the shield will be. If your shield is very, very low, this will increase the shield's strength by up to 300%, depending on how weak you actually are at the moment. Also, when the shield expires, the heal from the shield itself will actually be increased by 105% for the shield's remaining strength. So, if it gets taken away, you'll just get a flat heal anyway. But if it expires naturally without being taken away, you'll receive a larger heal. It's really, really handy for you or your group. You can heal yourself or somebody else. Next up is Boundless Storm. This is in Stormcalling as well. The second ability you unlock. Morph it to Boundless Storm. This does electric or shock damage to anyone nearby once a second for 23 seconds. This also gives you a resist bonus of Major Resolve and Major Ward, increasing the physical and spell resistance you have by 5280. So this makes you really, really tanky. And of course, for 7.5 seconds after activation, you have an increased movement speed of 30%. Now, I know the duration of this is 23 seconds and the speed bonus is only 7.5. So use this wisely. You've got two choices. You can activate it and just keep it on for the buff and the damage, or you can activate it every so often to keep the speed buff up if you're trying to clear ground really quickly. Failing that, of course, you do have access to Streak. You mix the two together. Now, Power Surge. This is essential stuff. This is also in Stormcalling. This is the fourth ability you unlock. Morph it to Power Surge, and what this does is this will give you Major Brutality and Major Sorcery above all, increasing your weapon and spell damage by 20% for 33 seconds. Keep this active at all times. This is a really big increase to your damage, which we do need, and of course, if you do crit anything, even if it resists it, if you critically hit anything, you will heal. So this dude here, that's not crit, that is. So is that. And again, every time you crit, you will heal once a second. It's really, really powerful. Now, of course, it's stronger in PvE than it is in PvP, but it does really, really count. It's very, very strong indeed. Next up is Proximity Detonation. This will take some time in PvP to unlock, so if you don't have it yet, don't worry. You can probably just put Inner Light on both bars and be fine. But I would highly recommend getting this skill. This is a little tricky, so it takes a bit of practice, but it's very, very strong. Go into Assault, unlock Proximity Detonation. This is actually Magicka Detonation to start with. Morph it to Proximity Detonation, and this is basically your bomb ability. It lasts for 8 seconds, and after 8 seconds it explodes. Does a decent amount of magical damage in area of effect for 8 meters, but the more enemies caught inside of the area of effect, the more damage it does. This can actually get more aggressive by up to 250%, but for 25% per target in here. So if you run into the middle of a group and there's 10 people, you'll get its maximum potential. It's very, very strong indeed. Now, all you have to do is activate it by doing this. And you can see the cooldown. Counts down to 0, and then it blows up. But if you reapply it, you can start the timer again. So you can just keep this on you until you're ready to let it blow up. Also, you can stealth with it as well. So you can sneak up to people. 4, 3, 2, 1, and then boom. Now that does 8k, but you can increase that by 250% based on how many targets are in the way, and they all get hit by it. It's really nasty. Now, of course you want to use this in conjunction with other skills, so you are going to want to make sure you got Boundless Storm on already, so that will tick damage and be really, really nice. You want to hit your Vampires, Invigorate and Drain at the same time, so just get in their face with these two active, with your buff on, while draining them and pinning them to the spot, because they're stunned. And then when it all blows up in their face, you can execute them. It's pretty nasty. Different way to usually kind of run the sword, because most people are Crystal Shard spammers or Crush and Shock spammers, but this doesn't require that. This is built for the Vampire skills specifically, and you'll see why when I get to the gear. Now, the final one is Devour and Swarm. This costs 100 ultimate, which is really, really, really cheap. However, this is cheap because of our gear and our class. Now I'm going to go into the passives, of course, but what this does above all is this will do 5 seconds of area of effect damage in 10 meters. Every single second that it hits anybody, you will receive a heal from the damage done. Now remember I said ultimate builds really, really fast? Right, I need 100 ultimate really, really quickly. We can get this even quicker once we get to the passives, but we'll build this up. Now, this is the little combo that you want to put together. If you are in trouble, or if you just want to do damage, you want to fire off this ulti at all times. So you put Proximity Detonation on. Put Boundless on. Proximity is about to fire off. 3, 2, hit your bats, drain them. You will do stupid, stupid damage over time and a big burst, and you can execute them at the end. Obviously, the skeleton's a bad gauge. He's got 3 million health, not like 20k like most players, but it really, really hurts. Everyone caught in the bomb will increase the damage. Everyone caught in the bats will heal you, plus take damage. And if they are caught in either of that and the Boundless all together, and you're in their face giving them a drain, you are constantly building ultimate, ready to get your next bat up. It's really, really nuts. You build real fast. Even if they break it, you can still pressure them. Just don't let them run away. And then you can pop the bats again. It's disgusting. It's really, really strong, especially if you are overwhelmed by multiple targets. Lots of CC, lots of heals, lots of ulti gain, and lots of damage. Now, this is in the Vampire skill line, of course, and it is the main ultimate. You get it literally straight away. As soon as you've got Vampire, you will unlock this. It's really, really handy. Now, passives. We want to make sure we get through these because they're very important. Dark Magic. We're not actually using any at all. I don't use any of these abilities, so you can pretty much ignore them. Although the passives you do want to get. Unholy Knowledge will give us a reduction to cost for stamina and Magicka abilities. We do want to make sure we get the cost down. When you hit an enemy with Dark Magic ability, blah, we're not using any. After blocking an attack, your next Magicka or stamina ability costs 15% less. So if you block some damage and put on a shield, it's cheaper. Any ability, in fact. Anything that costs magic. So you want to get that. Definitely get this one here, Unholy Knowledge and Persistence. And this one here, this is Dark Magic base as well. We're not using any. Ignore it. So this one and this one. Daedric Summoning, we're not using a pet, so we don't need that. We're not using a pet, so we don't need that. However, this will reduce the ultimate cost by 15%, which is why our bats are so bloody cheap. And also, while you have a Daedric summoning ability slotted, which we do, your health and your stamina recovery is increased by 20%. Health recovery is not that important because we're a vampire and it's reduced anyway, but our stamina recovery is important because we will get CC'd a lot and we want to break free. This is a Daedric summoning ability. So on your front bar, you have a 20% increase to stamina recovery. On the back bar, we don't have any Daedric summoning abilities, but we don't stay on the back bar that long, so it's not really relevant. Now, Storm Calling is essential. This is absolutely crazy. Increases your mag recovery. Of course we want that. Increases your physical and shock damage. Any shock damage you do is increased by 5%. Now, obviously we're using vampire abilities mostly, so it's magic damage, but we are using a lightning staff. So our light attacks are increased. Our heavy attacks are increased. Our Boundless Storm is increased. Our Mage's Wrath is increased. And also the next passive that's coming up in a moment. Implosion. When you deal shock damage of any kind, you have a 6% chance to instantly disintegrate enemies under 15% health, dealing 12,900 shock damage. That actually goes a lot higher than that, especially once you're buffed up. But basically, every single tick of this lightning damage here, every single tick, and your execute, and your light attacks, all of them have a chance to basically execute the target for free. That's very, very important. You've got to get that passive. It is essential. Your execute power is disgusting. Even if you heavy attack with a lightning staff, you have a chance of blowing them up. This one also increases your weapon and spell damage by 2% for each sorcerer ability slotted. We have one here, and we have one here. So that's 4% across the board on this bar. 1, 2, 3 on this bar. We have 6% on the back bar. Very, very nice indeed. Now, Destruction Staff skill line, obviously you want to get every single one of these passives, they're very important, but we must have one Destruction Staff ability on our bar, which I'm going to get to in a moment. First of all, this Trifocus bonus. You will get one of these bonuses, depending on what it is. Of course, we have a Lightning Staff. When we do heavy attacks, we have splash damage. Basically what that means is the main damage that you do to the main target will splash and hit nearby enemies for up to 130% of the damage done. So it's really, really nice. You want to make sure you get this, especially in close quarter situations. Just heavy attack the middle one and everyone else takes extra damage. This, your Destruction Staff abilities ignore 10% of the enemy's spell resistance. That means your light attacks, your heavy attacks, and any Destro abilities that we're using. We have one. If you are using this, this will count. Failing that, your lights and heavies will be the ones that contribute towards this particular passive. Increases your burning, concussion, and chilled status effects chance by 100%. It's not a 100% chance to do it. That's a 100% chance on top of what the base is. So any lightning damage you do, you have a chance to concuss them, which means they will get minor vulnerability, meaning you will do 8% increased damage to them. Also, if anyone's firing off a wall of elements that happens to be lightning at the same time, you can knock them off balance and you can do more damage to them then as well, especially with your heavy attack. So this is a really nice passive to get. This is very important, but you must have a destruction staff equipped and you must have a destruction staff ability equipped on your bar. The lightning staff will increase damage done in area of effect by 8%. Just saying, this here is area of effect. Your bomb is also area of effect. Your bats is also area of effect. Now I know this is single target here, but this is your ulti building ability while stunning them. Your bats are your main concern, and it makes a huge difference to have this running while you're draining them. It's really, really strong. So you want to make sure you get all of those passives, and above all, of course, when you kill an enemy with a destruction staff ability, you restore 3600 Magicka. So if you get a lucky light attack and kill them, or a heavy attack and kill them, or your Destro ulti's running and they die, any of those will actually give you a really big boost back to your Magicka pool. Now, we're going into some other passives here. Resto Staff, make sure you get every single one of these. Of course, I'm missing the last one, which increases your healing done with a Resto Staff spells. That actually goes up to quite a nice bonus there, but I don't use this stuff anywhere near enough to be able to level it out yet. However, I do use it, like I said, for this main heal, so it's really, really nice. And if you do get this passive at the bottom, which I don't have, that will, of course, increase that heal. So make sure you do get that if you can. But above all, you gain Major Mending for 3 seconds after completing a fully charged heavy attack. So, if you heavy attack with your Resto Staff, watch for a yellow timer. There it is. See that there? That's Major Mending, which means if I pop my Healing Ward, or I use Power Surge and heal from damage, or while it's active I fire my bats or my drain, they are all increased by 25%. So if you really want to, you can go heavy attack, bats, and then you're done. It's really, really nuts. So they link up together quite nicely. Increases your healing by 15% on allies under 30% health. So if you are very, very low health while on your resto bar and you're firing off your healing ward or even your bats and you stay on that bar at the time, you will get a larger heal from all of your healing done. It's really, really nice. Restores an additional 30% Magicka when you complete a heavy attack. So heavy attacks do give you back resources, but for using the resto staff you get an extra 30% back from it. So we'll just waste some Magicka here. Use the bomb a couple times. What are we down to now? 18k, 19, 25. That's huge. Really big bonus for that. Make sure you get those passives as well. This one here also restores Magicka when you block a spell, if you're on this bar. So if you block damage while on this bar that happens to be magic based or whatever, you can actually get magic back. It's not essential, but it does count. Light armor, make sure you get 3 of these, because we're not using light armor. We're actually using heavy. We're only using 1 piece of light armor. Normally, most Magicka builds use all light or 5 light. We're not doing that. We want to be tanky as hell. Vampires are generally very, very strong. They can mitigate a lot of damage and they have very high recovery. This does follow suit. However, you'll see where that all kind of ties in once we get to the gear, like I've already said. So, get these bonuses because they all benefit for having the 1 piece light. We also have 1 piece medium. For that, we'll take the stam recovery because we want to make sure we can break free more often. We'll take the reduction to cost. We'll also take the sneak bonus because we will be sneaking, especially since we're vampire because we move really fast. And this increases the movement speed while you sprint. And of course, reduction to dodge roll cost. We do dodge roll occasionally. We want to make sure we get the cost down. Even if it's just for 1 piece bonus, we want to make sure we get it regardless because all those little percentages do count. We are using 5 heavy. So we'll take all of these bonuses. And for using 5 heavy, we get 1811 physical and spell resistance. We can gain back up to 541 Magicka and stamina for being hit, which is once every 4 seconds, by the way, based on how many pieces of heavy we've got. Plus our health recovery is up, but that's not that important because we're a vampire anyway. Juggernaut, we have a 10% increase to our max health, which is why our health is so high. Again, we've got 26 and a bit at the moment, but if you're in Cyrodiil and you happen to own the campaign at the time, you can go as far as 29k, maybe a little bit higher. Increases your magic and stamina return or restore from your heavy attacks. Now, of course, if we were using all light, we'd have a little bit more recovery. But because we're using all heavy, our heavy attacks restore 25% more. That includes on our resto, by the way. The 30% increase, plus the 25 on top. Plus our champion points, plus the fact he gives you back anyway. So if we run out of a bit of Magicka here, show you a quick heavy attack. Obviously, we're going to run out, and our recovery is nice, but we're going to run out eventually. You heavy attack with this. That's huge. You get absolute loads back. It's insane. Very, very important passive. Very overlooked passive, in fact. And finally, Increases your healing received by 8%. For having 5 pieces of heavy armor, our healing we do to ourselves or other people do to us is increased on a flat bonus. Really, really nice. This skill line here, I'd honestly recommend maxing this as soon as possible. I did it on my main character. I haven't done it across all of them, but get this up as soon as you can. Easiest way that I found is to basically pickpocket and then just sell everything to defense, and eventually this will level up really, really fast. But you want to make sure you get this sneak bonus above all, because you are going to be sneaking in PvP, and as you will notice, it drains your stamina. When you max that out, it will reduce the amount of stamina that you use while sneaking by a maximum of 40%. Now, of course, our recovery is high, so as soon as we stop, it goes back up anyway. So we're actually in a good place, but if you can max that out, you are not going to struggle sneaking really long distances, even though our pool is really low. Vampire, of course, this is essential. This is what we're using. Ultimate, Invigorate and Drain, Elusive Miss, we've been over those. This increases your magic and stam recovery by 10%, very important. Undeath is insane. The lower your health is, the less damage you take. Under 50% health, you can take up to a 33% mitigation bonus, depending on how low your health is. We're already using heavy armor, we've already got high resists, we have really good heals, we can spam ultimate and heal buttons or abilities, and if we go really, really low, we're tanky as hell. This is insane, and this will save you so much. Very, very strong indeed. Also, of course, we sneak faster. Movement speed wise, we go normal speed, we don't slow down, and we hide in the dark quicker as well because we're a vampire. Now, it's not dark at the moment, but basically you hide at a certain speed. So if you watch the eye close, it takes a while to kind of peek, a couple seconds or so. If it's nighttime, you hide almost instantly. It's really, really fast, and you can run full speed. So if you mist form, for example, that's 30% increase to your speed. If you have Boundless on while hidden, you're really, really quick. Just bear in mind, by the way, if you activate Boundless, it will break your hide for a couple seconds, and then you'll go back into it. But you get the idea. It takes a bit of practice. Fighter's Guild. Now, we're not using any of these abilities, so the only passive that's actually relevant to us is this one here, Banish the Wicked. We build ultimate like hell. It builds up really, really fast. We can spam our bats left, right, and center, as well as keeping up our buffs and our AoE effects, and, of course, our single target Drain, which, again, builds ultimate. At the same time, if we kill an enemy that happens to be undead, Daedra, or werewolf, for each one that you kill personally, you'll get 9 ultimate back. Even if there's 10 of them. If you kill them all, that's 90 ultimate. It's really insane. Now, Mage's Guild, of course, I'm not actually using any abilities apart from Inner Light, so it's not really that important that I get any of these extra bonuses, except for this one here. This will increase your max magicka and your recovery by 2% for each Mage's Guild ability slotted. We do have one, so we will take that 2% bonus across the board. That does add up. Now, there are other bonuses, of course. The reduction to cost is nice if you are going to be using it, although I wouldn't spam it anyway. So if you've got the points, sure, go for it. If you haven't, don't panic. Just don't overspam Inner Light when you're trying to find people. This will increase the duration of it. So again, if you are using it as utility to find people, this will help, but it's not essential. And of course, this one here, if you cast a Mage's Guild ability and you fire a light attack after, within 5 seconds, it will be stronger. These are kind of tactical play passives. The most important one is this one, which will be with you all the time. But the others, it's kind of, if you've got Mage's Guild 10, go for it. If you haven't, don't panic, it's not the end of the world. Thieves Guild is not important. Undaunted is essential. You will be taking synergies. You'll see Purify, you'll see Spears, you'll see Damage Shields, you'll see stuff that does damage. Make sure you bloody take them because they are going to help you survive, and they will give you back 4% health, magic, and stamina every time you take a synergy with 0 cooldown. This is very, very important. Make sure you take those synergies. Don't just save them for other people. They're yours. Take them. This as well, for each type of armor worn, light, medium, and heavy are 3 different types. We are wearing 3 different types. 1 light, 1 medium, 5 heavy. For each type, it will give us 2% resources across the board. We actually now have a 6% bonus to max health, max stamina, and max magicka. Get this as soon as possible. Assault and support, these aren't maxed at the moment, but make sure that when you do get these maxed, you can put your skill points into here, because they're going to be very important, especially if you're actively playing PvP on this particular character, because this here will give you an increased 10% weapon and spell damage and 20% magicka and stamina recovery when it's maxed, if you have just captured a lumber mill, mine, farm, or keep. So this is very, very important. It gives you 10 minutes worth of this bonus. At the moment it's 5% and 10, but once it's maxed it's 10% and 20. This is very, very important. Keep actively taking those resources and you'll have this buff with you the whole time. This is actually very, very nice. It says it will increase your range by 2 meters, but when it's maxed, it's actually by 5 meters for anything that is over 15 meters range. So anything, including like your lights, your heavies, or your Mage's Wrath, anything that's over 15 meters in range, you will, including this as well, your heals, you can actually buff them if you're near a keep. So it's very, very, very strong. This one here, this is disgusting. If you kill a player, you get 10 ultimate at the moment. If you max this, you get 20 ultimate. Remember, our bats only cost 100. If we use Invigorate and Drain plus a light attack, we get 5 ultimate a second for using the Drain, 3 ultimate a second for our light attack that just went off, or if we're taking damage, and we can get 10 ultimate for a player that's dying. We build ultimate really, really, really fast. Support, we're not using any of these abilities, so they're not that important. This one you won't need because it gives you Magicka Recovery for slotting one of these abilities. I'm not using any, so it's not important. This one here increases your healing done by 10% while you're near a keep. That actually maxes out to 20%. Get this as soon as you can. And this reduces the time it takes for you to resurrect another player by 15% while you're in a PvP area. This actually goes up to 30%. So you can resurrect people very, very fast. And remember, people in Cyrodiil, don't let people die. And if they do die, pick them up. If you pick them up, you will actually get alliance points for reviving them. Who's that? Someone's fighting target skeleton. Ben's on camera. There's my Zunchin. Hello. He doesn't know I'm recording. High elf, of course we're a high elf. 9% increase to max recovery, which is very, very important because we want to stay in the fight as long as possible. Keep our shields up and buffs and all that good stuff. Increases your max magicka by 10%, increasing our overall pool, meaning we can use more abilities and have higher shields and do more damage. And of course, increases the flame, frost, and shock damage. Shock damage is the only one we're doing there out of the 3 by 4%. It's very, very important indeed. Now, medicinal use is quite possibly one of the most important passives in the game as far as I'm concerned if you're using crafted potions. I'm using immovability potions and tripods. Now, if we go into slottables, immovability pots are these. You are immune to knockback and disabling effects by 10.4 seconds. So you can't be stunned, you can't be knocked down, no nothing. You gain health and you gain magicka. Plus you gain magic recovery and you gain health recovery for 47.6 seconds. The stun immunity is 10 seconds, the rest is 47.6. The cooldown, however, is 45. So you can have this recovery bonus up 100% of the time if you're actively using these all the time. You can use them strategically if you want, but if you do activate them, you can keep them up infinitely. However, there is another bonus here. This is a crown store one, so this isn't a very good example, because crown store potions are actually a little less. The maximum ones, if you were to go with the ones that you can craft, the same applies to this. You will get health, you will get stamina, and you will get magicka instead of the knockdown effect from a crafted version of this, and it will last the same time, 47.6 seconds. So depending on the fight, I use either tri-pots or immovability pots. Entirely up to you. So, now I'm going to get into the gear, and this is going to start making a lot more sense. So, first of all, I'm in the wrong menu. Where are we? Vampire's Lord, 5 pieces. Lightning staff on the front. We were using swords before, but as most of you may know, Summerset has changed things. Summerset has made it so that staves, two-handed melee weapons, and bows are all 2 pieces now instead of 1. So whereas before we'd have to use maybe 2 swords, so we could use a full monster set, now you don't have to. Now you can actually use a magicka-based weapon. This is a lightning staff, whereas before it was a sword. So if you heavy attack with a sword, you get stamina back. However, now if you heavy attack with a lightning staff, you get magic back. So this is much, much more efficient than it was before. Previously, the build worked absolutely fine and was a little bit outside the box. Now it is much, much cleaner as far as your sustain is concerned. We're using a sharpened weapon with an increased weapon and spell damage glyph, so that our spell damage is obviously heightened once we start fighting people. It has a magicka bonus, has a spell damage bonus, has a spell crit chance bonus, and above all, increases the damage done by your vampire abilities by 400 spell damage, and reduces their cost. So, our vampire abilities, Mist Form, and Invigorate and Drain, and, if you have it on, your bats are all reduced. That's a 94 ultimate, not 100, 94. Now that is reduced by several things. 1, we are using our Sork passives to reduce the cost by 15%. 2, we are using the Vampire set, the Vampire Lord set, to reduce it again by a further 5%. And then there's one more that is reducing it even more. 1 staff, 3 jewelry, by the way. We are using on the body 5-piece dragon, 5-piece Akaviri dragon. We're using full heavy, and what this does is it gives us mag recovery, which is insane. Heal and taken, of course, we want that. Bonus to health. We're very, very tanky. We've got nice recovery and survivability, and it reduces the cost of all your ultimate abilities by 15%. We have 15% reduction here, 15% reduction in the Sork passives, and a 5% reduction in the Vampire Lord skill set. So we are able to spam those bats really, really efficiently, really, really often, and our vampire abilities are cheap as hell. So you want impen on absolutely everything, Magicka glyphs on everything. You can go try stat on the chest if you want. It did make a small bit of difference. It kind of buffed it slightly over the edge, but you can go max magic on everything if you want, but impen on everything. So Vampire Lord, Resto, and Lightning Staff. Lightning on the front, Resto on the back. I do favour these potions, which reduce their or increase their ultimate cost. It's really, really trolley. So if I'm trying to get magic back on the Resto bar, I can kind of debuff them, but you don't have to. You can use anything you want here. And of course 3 jewelry pieces as well. The jewelry is arcane. You can change one to bloodthirsty if you want, but you really don't need to. Honestly, 3 arcane jewelry is absolutely fine. Spell damage on everything. So to recap, 5 piece of Vampire Lord, which is lightning on the front, Resto on the back, 3 jewelry, 5 piece Akaviri Dragon on the body, and of course Bloodspawn. The Bloodspawn 1 piece gives us a stam recovery, so if we break free, we get our stamina back fast. Also, to add to our tank ability, to add to our ability to gain ultimate and spam those bats, if we get hit, we have a 6% chance while taking damage to give us massive resists, 6.3k in fact, which will go on top of our Major Ward and Major Resolve, for both physical and spell resists for 6 seconds, and we'll gain 14 ultimate. So 5 ultimate a second from Invigorate and Drain, 3 ultimate a second from a light attack, 14 ultimate for being hit, 20 ultimate from killing a player, 9 ultimate from killing Undead Daedra or Werewolf. We are an ultimate building machine. It's really, really quick. Now, of course, the back bar. I didn't explain the trait, but we're using Decisive on the Resto Staff. 40% increase while on the Resto Staff to gain extra ultimate. So if you are backing away, and you're trying to make sure that you've got some distance on the target, you're just kind of building back up your resources, you're putting a heal on and stuff like that, you want to make sure that you're out of trouble. While you're building ultimate, you won't build 3 a second. You can actually build a lot more. You can actually build 4 a second if you're lucky, because the Decisive trait can increase your ulti gain. It's very, very nice indeed. So Decisive on the back, sharpened on the front. Also, one more thing, make sure you've got a light head and a medium shoulders, or a light shoulders and a medium head. It's entirely up to you which way around you go, but make sure you've got one of each to get max resources out of the Undaunted passives. Very, very strong indeed. The reason we're using Sharpen, by the way, is very simple. We are not using light armor, so we do not get the 4-8-8-4 penetration to our target, if you like a debuff to them. It doesn't increase our damage because we don't have it. You need 5 pieces of light armor to get it. So instead, I buffed it with a Sharpen weapon. And also, I'm now going to go over the champion points. And I'll go over the blue tree first, so that makes a little bit more sense. We have loads into spell erosion as well. So we've got 3503 here, and we've got 2700 in our weapon. Our spell penetration is absolutely fine. We have a lot of spell penetration, plus we have the Destro Staff penetration bonus as well for 10% of the resists being ignored for using the Destro's skill, light, heavy, or the ultimate. So you can see here that our penetration would be high with light armor, but we've already closed the gap for missing it. So we can be heavy armor, we can be tanky, we can have high recovery, we can have really good heals, we can have ulti gain, and we go through the target's resistance. It's really, really strong. Our recovery, of course, is at base is nice. You could have higher if you had light armor, but we've got it covered with our heavy attacks anyway. Our heavy attacks are insane. 64 points into here, of course, to give us a nice flat bonus to all the damage that we do, magic, shock, and all that good stuff. 23 points into Elfborn. We don't want to crit too often because, of course, if the people are stacking loads and loads of impenetrable, it's not going to make a difference. However, we do want to make sure that the heals we do definitely crit, because that will keep us alive for longer. Blessed will, of course, improve our healing done. So any heals that we do from our Invigorate and Drain, from our bats, from our Power Surge, from our Healing Ward, any of that, this will actually benefit you. Also, 16 points into Staff Expert, because of course we will be heavy attacking occasionally, so you want to make sure the damage is improved. Shatter and Blows to make sure you go through damage shields a little bit more efficiently, because a lot of people stack shields. And 75 points into Thaumaturge. You can go 81 here if you want, but you lose some really nice bonuses in some of these lesser spent points here, so I personally wouldn't. But if you do want to go to 81, that will give you a further 1%. But above all, this is for the Exploiter passive, because people do go off balance a lot in PvP, and we want to make sure you get the extra 10% damage to kind of finish them off. 66 points into Ironclad, because you will get hit with a lot of single target damage, so make sure you defend yourself, as it were, with this particular passive as much as you can without going into too many diminished returns. 39 points into crit resistance to go alongside of our impenetrable gear, which is why we've got 2700 and a little bit more crit resistance. 37 across the board for all 3 of these, making sure of course that you've got a 9% reduction to flat damage for any of these damage types, and if they are any of these damage types and happen to be a damage over time as well, you reduce them by a further 15%. 23 points into Expert Defender. We are going to get hit with a lot of light and heavy attacks from players. Make sure you can defend yourself against those, and of course quick recovery as well to increase our healing received by 3%. Now, of course, above all, this particular skill line, I always make sure I got 10 points in here because of this field physician passive. And of course, now we've got access to this because we've got 30 points in here as well. So this, while you're resing people, not only do you get alliance points, not only do you res faster because of your passives in support, but you also take less damage. So you're tanky while you're taking a moment to res people. And also when you do resurrect them, you increase their Magicka recovery by 7, 8, 9 for 8 seconds. They can get back in the fight really, really quick. This is based off your max resources, by the way. So if you have really low resources, this is actually reduced a lot. But because we've got nearly 40k Magicka, this is really, really handy. 56 into break free costs. Now, that's cost reduction, by the way. If you break free, it costs you stamina. We don't have a lot of stamina. So this helps you reduce it so you can break more efficiently as and when you need to. We've got high recovery, so we can get it back quick, but we want to make sure the cost is less. 75 points into Tenacity to give us a 14% increase to the return from our heavy attacks when we heavy attack with either a Resto or a Light and Stuff, doesn't matter which. Plus, remember, we've got the 25% bonus from heavy armor, so this is massive. Also, increased recovery for Magicka by 14% as well, stacking on top of all the bonuses that we've already got. So this is really, really nice. Don't go any more into these because it's going to take you 25 points to get to 15%, which is only 1% more than this. The decimals don't count, and that's going to be a waste of time. Now, I don't put any into Tumbling because I am quite happy dodge rolling and then getting my stamina back passively. I don't dodge roll very often unless I really, really have to, because if I get caught in a root or in Immobilize, I can mist form out. I don't need to waste loads of stamina dodge rolling. Just mistform and you're good. The only ones I want to reduce really is break free, because that one I can't do anything about apart from actually do a break free. Also, in the meantime, Shadow Ward. I will block damage. I don't have a lot of stamina, so this reduces the cost of blocking. So the 2 major things that you use your stamina for, breaking free and blocking. So they are buffed. You don't use so much resources. You get your resources back really quickly, and this is covered by your mistform. So hopefully that helped, hopefully that wasn't too boring, and hopefully you now have a better understanding of how to approach this particular build. It is very unique. It's not the usual crystal shard spam and stuff that you'll see out there. This is very vampire heavy. Your main focus on this is to keep up your buffs. Keep up your passive kind of AoE stuff that's coming in, and pressure that target with that vampire heal. Keep yourself up, keep your ulti coming, and every time you can do, reapply these abilities and get your bats on. You can put in some serious bursts while they're stunned. It's really, really disgusting. And if they're tanky as hell and they think they're clever, breaking out with their resources, kind of getting out of stuns every so often and just spamming their stamina until there's nothing left, eventually you will kill them, no matter how tanky they are. It's really, really nice. And of course, the bats is AoE. You heal off of everyone you hit. Jump into a big pile of them and they won't kill you. It's really, really strong. Anyway, like I said, hopefully that helped. First of all, thank you all very, very much for watching. I hugely appreciate the support. And if you are not subscribing, please do hit that button. It is free. Furthermore, if you would like to support the channel outside of YouTube, there are some links in the description for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, and of course the website XynodeGaming.com, where all the written guides are. And of course, there's a new forum there as well, which you can get stuck into. And don't forget, I'm live streaming now on Twitch, 10 PM every day, UK time. And you will see a lot of this stuff, especially the Vampire and the Fury build in Mid-Year Mayhem, which is coming up in the next couple of days. So keep your eyes peeled for those. Don't usually do PvP streams, but I'm going to be while this event is on. So hopefully we'll see you there. Once again, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.